Hello, everyone. Welcome to ELI, the only podcast in India where we bring a new founder on every episode to talk about their journey and their story of building a startup. And today we have with us Arjun Sinha Roy, who is the founder of Irasus Technologies, which is an energy analytics company working in the domain of battery storage, charging infrastructure, and solar analytics. Hi, Arjun. Welcome to ELI.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Priya. And it's my pleasure to be here on this wonderful platform.
Thank you, Arjun, for joining. To start with, can you tell us a bit about your journey so far, right from your childhood? Where were you born and brought up? Where did you study? Which all companies did you work for? And how did you sort of, arrive at entrepreneurship? What made you to think about entrepreneurship?
I was born and brought up in Calcutta. My father was in the leather industry, so I had a very small part of my childhood growing up in Kanpur. But most of my early life was in Calcutta, and I studied at La Martini for Boys, which is one of the most prestigious schools in the city. And then I had the honor of going and studying engineering at BITS Pilani. So I had the privilege of studying in two very premier institutions.
Mhm.
Uh, and why, you know, and of course, once I studied in BITS Pilani, I'm a dual degree holder in economics and mechanical engineering. And so during our time, of course, the concept of entrepreneurship, at least the startup entrepreneurship, had not kind of evolved the way it has today. I think that was something that started off in the late 90s, around the time that I was graduating with the dot-com boom, and that really
Mhm.
kind of took off. Till then, our heroes were, so the software company founders like Infosys and
Right.
all the big companies, Sonata Software and Microland. These were the early pioneers in the Indian IT ecosystem. So they were our heroes. And
Mm.
I come from an entrepreneurial family myself. My grandfather was a businessman and a banker before
Okay.
independence. My father was in the leather business, so I think a lot of this is something which runs in the family, in my genes, and it was but natural that at some point I would become an entrepreneur
Mhm.
myself. And one of the first things that after my graduation, I joined TCS, another big grounding place for the Indian IT industry. I learned my ropes, although it was a very small stint. And then post that, I had a couple of stints in very small startups as an employee, as an early employee.
Mhm.
So I think those two stints were very important and they were by choice. I didn't want to work in a very large organization for long. So, of course, in TCS, I learned a lot about the basics of software engineering, process systems. And then I went to a couple of smaller companies where I tried to understand how to build businesses from scratch. And then, sometime in the mid 2000s, I tried my first startup stint. As I said, it was but natural for me that I will try and do something on my own. The concept of building something from scratch is something that has always appealed to me. As a builder, I think a lot of engineers are trained to be builders, and
Mm.
the world of startup is also about building. So I
Right.
think that was a natural inclination that I had. And then in the mid 2000s, I tried my stint in the media tech space. Now, that startup did not work, but it was a big learning experience. And then I went back to the corporate industry. By that time, the telecom industry had taken off, so I took up a job in Bharti Telesoft, which is now called Comviva, as a product manager. Again, it was a very fast-growing company in the telecom space, so great learning experience. And then I worked with a company called On Mobile, which
Mhm.
was the pioneer in mobile value-added services listed company. Again, I think one of the best stints I had, company which was fast-growing, you know, being a pioneer in that space. So I did these couple of stints, and my last job was at the company called Netcore Solutions. Some of you are aware of this company. It is a pioneer in MarTech,
Yes.
and so there I had again the advantage and the privilege of working with one of the pioneers in the Indian startup ecosystem, Mr. Rajesh Jain. And once
Mm-hmm.
you work again with him, it was no it was no doubt that I will have to do something again. So post that last stint, I was in my early 40s, and I felt that I had you know not only done enough in the corporate world, I had also achieved a little bit of financial stability. I had done my part of paying off the loans and stuff like that, and I thought it's another good time to start my entrepreneurial journey again, because you know you can be an entrepreneur in a very early in your life because you have very little liabilities, or
Mm-hmm.
you can be an entrepreneur once you have reached a certain pinnacle in your career, because you have the connects, you have the contacts, um, and with a little bit of financial stability and the family support, it's not very difficult to start the journey again. So I was a little lucky that my family supported me wholeheartedly in this journey, and yeah, it was back to freedom, back to building. And I think these two stints were very important. And I must tell you something, that the college I went to, BITS Pilani, is one of the, you say, it is a cradle of entrepreneurship. It
Right.
is one of the startup hubs of India today. I think a lot of unicorns have come from there. So I think it is something which is grounded in the culture. We were very lucky to have studied there. There was a lot of freedom. There was a lot of you know freedom given to experiment, to build things, and to chart your own path. And I think that grounding helped us, plus the family support. So when I decided to start up again, it was very, very clear in my mind that the time has come. So yeah, so sometime in 2018, 19, I decided to take the plunge again. And yeah, a lot of fair things fell together. It was also about things falling into place. So that's how it happened.
Understood.
Over to you.
And why did you choose this particular segment? Was it because it's a growing space, a lot of innovation happening here, and India as a country is always, that there is a huge demand for everything around this electric mobility and battery, uh, and there is a shortage of raw materials around the world, and that's why the EV production is not able to pick up its pace. Lot of demand, lesser supply. Is that why you chose this particular sector?
So in 2018, I think a lot of these things that you're talking about were not necessarily very clear at that time, but we had our conviction. And I think I'll give you two, three reasons why I wanted to be in the space. So when you are 40 to 43 years old, you have about 15 to 20 years of active professional life. You ask yourself, what is the next big thing that I'm going to do? So I was very lucky that I was a part of the IT industry in my very early part of my career, and then I
Mhm.
was a part of the telecom industry in my next phase of my career. So I saw two big industries evolve in front of me and go from start to the peak, to the place where it became a steady state plateau industry. And I
Mhm.
saw how early innovators in each of these industry made huge impacts. So that was one thing which was very clear, that what is the next big industry which will have an impact for the next 20 years. So climate change and climate technology seemed like a big problem to solve. And we
Mhm.
felt that we should be able to take a bet and make an impact there. Second, when we chose within that climate tech, what is the niche that we want to work in? I had already met my co-founder and partner. He's another alumni of BITS Pilani. He's my junior from BITS, and both of us felt that our grounding was in technology, software, and core engineering. So we felt that we had to do something which will marry our strengths in software, data analytics, and our core understanding of engineering.
Mhm.
And so that was again the second thesis, which was clear. Now, why batteries? So initially we were toying with the idea of doing energy analytics in solar alone, and we had done some early prototyping, and we went to a lot of industry folks. And one of our industry veterans who was guiding us at that time, and he's also a senior of us from BITS Pilani, he
Mhm.
said that what, solar is something that is very commoditized, but every industry will need the battery.
Mm.
In climate tech, the battery is actually the core storage where renewable energy is going to be stored, or renewable energy will be used through the batteries, whether it's an electric vehicle or it's a battery replacing a diesel generator. And today
Mm.
we see, batteries coming into drones, it's coming into data centers. The battery has become very core to the decarbonization of the global economy.
Right.
So we were very clear that the battery is going to be core. So we had to marry these three things: climate tech, our understanding of analytics and software, which is our strength, and then the battery storage. And then we went back to a lot of, one of the things that I had in hindsight was my experience, where I
Mhm.
had seen how IoT and device management was coming together, how Industry 4.0 was taking over, and we felt that every industry was getting digitalized. Machines were getting connected to the cloud. So we asked ourselves, if the battery gets connected to the cloud, um, how will it impact the ability to manage operations for industries which is going to be driven by batteries? And when we started talking to people, we understood that everyone wants to use the battery, but very
Mhm.
few people understand batteries. Very few people understand how batteries are going to impact their business operations. They don't understand uh, how without the knowledge of how the battery is behaving, business operations suffers. So I
Mhm.
think the problem statement was becoming very clear. You had electric vehicles, scooters, buses being launched, the government launching schemes, incentives, but very few people had the idea of how to run a battery operated ecosystems in a safe, reliable, affordable manner. So
Mhm.
what we decided was we'll marry all of this knowledge that we have, bring in a technology which will essentially help us digitalize the battery ecosystem, take the data onto the cloud, do the analysis of that data real time, get insights, and using that insights drive the business operations. And when we do that, we will make industry adopt uh, batteries as the cornerstone of this decarbonization, uh,
Mhm.
and of course, help businesses run their systems and operations efficiently. This is the thesis that we started working on in 2019. So I think there was a lot of these assumptions,
Mhm.
and these assumptions were rooted in a lot of background work that we had done in the past in core tech, and also what of the feedback that we were getting from the market and whatever we could foresee. So we took the bet, and entrepreneurship and startup entrepreneurship is always about, taking the bet, taking small steps, driving down a foggy road. And as you drive down, you see that the road either clears or becomes more foggy. If it becomes
Mm.
more foggy, then you change course. If it becomes clearer, then you start driving more ahead and faster. So as we were driving ahead, we got some setbacks like COVID,
Mm.
which we had not anticipated. But on the whole, I think the thesis was becoming clearer and clearer, and people were definitely buying into the theory that we had. And over a period of time, we've kind of started building a business about over it. We have started generating revenue from it, and today we have close to 2,500 batteries being run on our platform, more than 2,000 buses which are running on our platform, battery operated. The first one, 2,500 battery operated two-wheeler, three-wheelers.
Mhm.
And slowly we'll be getting into stationary battery management, which is going to be primarily used in um, industries like solar storage, diesel replacement. So I think we are now in that cusp of starting to scale up. So yeah, a lot of calculated assumptions and validating each of these assumptions as we went forward.
Got it. Can you give some examples or use cases of, how does a analytics company sort of bring business level changes or move the needle for a company which is using battery? Like, I'm still not clear on, how can analytics play a role in the whole battery ecosystem?
Very simple. Um, Analytics is all about data. So you first collect data. You can put them in a small telematics device inside a battery or inside a bus on the OBD port. So there are different technical terms that are there. But these are typical, you put in some kind of a smart device which
Mhm.
can extract data from the battery. And along with the battery, you can also extract data from the motor and from the chargers and different kinds of ecosystem. Once this data is coming, you keep analyzing the data. So the first thing that you do is
Mhm.
start putting benchmarks. a lot of the benchmark in the battery ecosystem does not exist. So they have to be built over a period of time, and we've done that over the last 3 to 4 years that we've been working. So how much is a safe range of operations? Some things that sometimes the battery itself gives you certain ranges. Sometimes over the period of time, the operations team of your customers start working those ranges. So you do a lot of calculations. Some of these
Right.
calculations and algorithms have been built, and most of them have been built by us for specific industry requirements. So a two-wheeler, three-wheeler industry will have a different kind of algorithm. An electric bus will have a different algorithm. An electric truck working in, say, a mining industry will have a different algorithm to judge all these battery data which is coming in real time.
Mm-hmm.
When the battery data is coming in real time, you start then building your applications, which are the frontline applications. So what are the typical problems? Typical problems will be performance indicators. So how much is the battery giving you in terms of mileage? How much is the cost of operations? How much of electricity is the battery consuming per kilometer of usage? If it's an electric vehicle, if it's a stationary battery, how much of hours of operations are you getting in a continuous model? So
Mm-hmm.
these are performance indicators. Operational indicators then become related to it, related in terms of uptime management. How much of downtime can you reduce? What is the scheduled downtime? What are the scheduled downtimes, unscheduled downtimes? So you do a lot of analysis in terms of faults, for example. You understand the faults, you understand what is causing the faults. How can you prevent the faults? How can you predict faults? How can you then eliminate faults before the faults become a major breakdown? So a lot of that, operational indicators are being analyzed real time by the algorithms that we build. You have revenue indicators and safety indicators. Safety indicators, obviously you have to understand that a battery is a very complex piece of engineering. There's electrical energy, there is chemistry. You have to continuously monitor, continuously work on that.
Mm-hmm.
And in the past you've heard of cases where tires were very common.
Right.
Those have reduced over a period of time, not only because battery chemistries have improved, but also because there is real-time monitoring and real-time operations involved. You're looking at safety indicators. You're trying to build those safety indicators in a way that these indicators can continuously be monitored by operations teams. And if there is any outliers, those outliers can be then used to do proactive management and maintenance rather than wait for something to go wrong. And finally, revenue indicators. At the end of the day, if a vehicle can be made to run 30 minutes more, that is 30 minutes more of operation, 30 minutes more of kilometers, 30 minutes more of revenue at the end of the day.
Right.
So think of it this way. There are four broad indicators. Each one of them works on data analysis over the data that we extract. And these data analysis and the insights are used to run different kinds of business applications. And different teams are monitoring these business applications to maximize revenue and reduce costs. Very simple.
Understood. Yeah. Quite interesting and beautifully explained. Uh, what are some of the common industries that you have been working with? Like, where do you see maximum adoption of battery and the analytics technologies?
So we are very clear. Wherever there is a battery, there will be irises.
Mm-hmm.
But the big users of battery is today, of course, the electric vehicle industry. So you have to understand that the entire two-wheeler, three-wheeler space is going to transition to electric over a period of time. Now, how much is the time we don't know, but it's something which is rapidly moving towards. Um, so I think that is one of the big users that we have today. The three-wheeler space is actually one of our biggest customer base where we work with. We also see a lot of push in the public transportation electric bus space. So a lot of electric bus companies are now adopting our platform. We already have two customers in the electric bus space, and we're going to add a few more this year.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another area which is already working for us. Uh, the fleet companies in the two-wheeler, three-wheeler space is also one big user. So we see that commercial users of battery-operated electric vehicles are our primary customers today. The
Mm-hmm.
second segment that we are getting into is battery storage, which means a lot of work will happen towards using renewable energy in efficient manner. So today, of course, that solar can be used and generated only during the daytime. And also there are a lot of challenges in that. You have to keep looking at solar generation. You have to keep looking at how to synchronize the solar generation with the grid. So a lot of tenders today for solar generation, and of course, commercial industrial users of solar are also looking at battery storage as a means to store the energy whenever it is cheapest to produce and then use it. So that is one area that we see is going to take off. And we also see that the diesel generator as a backup is today going to be replaced in some form or the other by a battery storage across industries. I can name
Mm.
so many people who are now looking and evaluating battery storage as a replacement for diesel generators. So I think the cost of operations is something which today makes sense. Diesel itself is expensive. Operations of diesel per kilowatt hour of energy generated is something which is very expensive. Battery storage, including the capex and operationalizing the capex cost, has become fairly affordable now. Financing is available, so that is another industry which will take off, which is the stationary storage industry. In the future, we see data centers becoming a big users, drones becoming a big user. So I
Right.
think the larger theme that we keep talking about is decarbonization. As we see that different industries approach the problem of reducing their dependency on fossil fuel, battery and battery storage will become crucial. And whenever there is a battery storage, you will need a platform like ours to basically manage the operations.
Mm.
We will become like the asset managers for those industry, managing the asset for the end users, analyzing the data, making the asset more efficient for different stakeholders, and then obviously running it across the entire life cycle of that battery asset.
Got it. I also understand there is a big part of AI that is being used in your platform, and AI is pretty good at number one, predicting faults or breakages in the future, which falls under predictive maintenance in the manufacturing industry. AI is also very good at giving optimization suggestions. For example, you drive a car at 40 kilometer per hour, you'll get maximum efficiency or maximum kilometers per charge. So can you, I'm a very layman just giving random examples. Can you give examples of how AI is being used at your platform?
Yeah. In fact, to be honest with you, we are very early in the whole adoption cycle of in this whole industry. As we speak today, data acquisition itself is something which a lot of industries and clients are just getting their feet into. Um, Having said that, there is already a lot of early adoption of AI which is happening. I mentioned the four indicators that we work on:
Hmm.
performance indicators, operational indicators, safety indicators, and revenue indicators. And some bit of AI is already being built into each of these individual indicators. So one of the first, actual practical examples I can tell you is a very simple thing, which is we call the fault management system, where we are looking at both battery generated faults and algorithmic faults. So battery generated faults are faults which are coming out from the battery itself. So the battery itself will be giving you a lot of fault codes, and those fault codes have to be understood in its context. What is important is whether the fault code is coming, for example, if there's a temperature elevation, is it coming because there is a problem in the ambient temperature? Is there a problem in the coolant? Is there a coolant leakage, or is there a problem in the battery itself? Is the cell performance at question? So I think one has to understand that. And over a period of time, it is the machine learning algorithms which kind of start looking at the data. They know what data and what data points to keep looking at, compare, and then you classify the faults as in different codes from 1 to 5 in terms of severity. And then these become relevant for the operations team in the field to start looking at real-time data and take real-time actions. So I think this is something that we've just launched, and it is going to get refined in the future, and this will have a significant impact in terms of reducing the uh, downtime, which is which any users of battery assets will face. In the future, we will be launching more and more AI-driven models to help in streamlining the operational across these four indicators, which I mentioned: the performance indicator, the um, operational indicator, safety, and revenue indicators. So it's just a question of which parameters will take priority based on market needs, and we will just prioritize them. So this is something that we've just launched. And it's already happening, making a big impact in terms of reducing the cost of repairs, reducing the time needed for service management, reducing how much of spares which has to be kept, because once you start understanding the fault patterns, and you have to understand how the fault patterns are behaving across geographies. So a fleet can actually optimize the spare parts that it can needs to keep in different parts of the country based on certain patterns that we see. So and this is just one of the examples. The implications will be huge as we go forward. Priya?
Got it. All right. So I just have one last question for you. Why do you see this industry going forward? Because lately we have seen a lot of changes happening in the industry. To start with, there is a shortfall of material like the rare earth minerals, which are required to produce the batteries. There is a shortfall of that due to the trade barriers and global restrictions. There are other issues as well. The technology is not evolving beyond a point. So how do you foresee this industry going? Is it going to be the future, or do you think it's just a wave until the next big technology comes up? Like, uh, for example, nuclear power can be an option. Hydrogen power can be option. So I'm just thinking out loud. But can you tell me what do you foresee about this industry?
So I think let's look at the macro picture again. How do we predict trends? First and foremost, nobody in this world can predict trends. 30 years back, nobody knew how big internet will be, and here we are. So I think while it will be foolish on my part to start making predictions in terms of future trends, let's look at the macro picture. Climate change means that we will continue to need newer, cleaner forms of energy. The newer and cleaner forms of energy will continue to have to be stored somewhere to be transported for use. So I think these two macro pictures are very clear, and they will continue to evolve in that sense. Uh, what alternative technologies can come? Look, there are a lot of smart people in this world who are trying to build more efficient batteries. Solid state batteries are coming up, more chemistries are coming up, sodium cells are coming up. Today it seems that they may not be the most efficient, but who knows? Breakthrough technologies are happening across the world at all points of time. Hydrogen, yes, it's another alternative. There are big bets being made. Some people say it is the future. Some people say it is inefficient. I don't know, because these breakthroughs that happen, and those breakthroughs are happening at a faster pace today than, say, 20, 30 years back. I'm not the right person to judge. What are we going to do? I can tell you that. We are going to look at innovations in the battery storage space, and we're going to look at innovations in clean energy storage across the board. And
Mm.
our job will be always to analyze ways and needs, to take the data, analyze the data, build insights, and then run business applications on those insights. So if
Right.
today, tomorrow, there is going to be a hydrogen cell based storage solution in the world, by all means, I will bet that Irisus will be one of the first companies which will invest into building the energy analytics and insights to drive the business applications around that. So I think that is one. The second thing is we see that a lot of industries will start evolving and start using, I would call it clean energy storage. And battery storage is cornerstone of that. But
Mhm.
a lot of industries will start now evolving and start using. And honestly, I today can only name 4 or 5 industries, because as an entrepreneur, I have to focus on today's problems and the problems of probably the next 1 year, 2 years. But as we speak, everywhere there is innovation happening where battery storage is coming in and replacing traditional fossil fuel as a means, whether it's excavators, whether it's large commercial trucks, whether it's you know, uh, as I mentioned, drones is one big area that is of interest to us, because as drones become larger and carry larger payloads, batteries will become crucial. I mean, there's no battery, there's no drone, so that is another area we will look at. The entire data revolution is being powered by data centers, and data centers require battery storage. So management of that is again. So again, our focus is very simple. We look at the battery storage and any clean energy storage as an asset. we believe that our ability to use data analysis and manage that asset so that
Mhm.
business operations across the four indicators, performance, operational, safety, and revenue indicators, move in the right direction, move more efficiently. Um, that is going to be our focus. And we will make it safe, reliable, and affordable for the end users. And of course, all the other stakeholders, which includes finance companies. Capital will need to finance storage, and we will be partnering with finance companies to again make it easier and better and faster and more relevant for them to get access to data and bring out new products which can make financing easier and make the storage solutions more accessible to businesses and individuals. So I think from our perspective, this is the future of the market. We see that battery storage will move across industries, and if new storage solutions come in, we will be a part of that journey as well.
Understood. Thanks for sharing that. And on this point, we are at the closure of the session. Thanks for joining us, Arjun. Pleasure talking to you. And I think you are certainly playing a part in moving the world into cleaner energy. So kudos to you on that. And thanks again for joining.
Thank you so much, Priya. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for your